check in, see how things are going for you in the community. A lot going on in the world, a lot going on every day, but we thank God that He woke us up and we're able to take and get things done. Well, I wanted to speak to be an encouragement. There's a lot going on, whether it be housing, whether it be finances, whether it be family, whether it be children, that you can make it. You know, when I look back over my life and I go back to my teenage years, I go, how in the world did I make it with being a teenager at 18 and a baby and no skills really? When I go back and I look at it, you know, I really didn't have any skills, but I want my teenagers to know that you can make it. I want my parents with teenagers that know that are there helping their children. You're a blessing, and God sees your labor of love. And when you get in the grind and you get in it with you, it's so much easier. You know, it says wherever two or three are gathered in the midst of God, that's where He'll be. So I just want you to encourage when you've had a child who's had a child before it's time, before they came out of high school, or before, you know, they really got into the setup of the world. So many things are coming at people, and things happen. So, you know, being a teenage mom, you know, I had a lot of help in some areas, and then in the area of skills that I really didn't have. I always, you know, heard my mom talk about going back to take classes and programs and things to build my skills. Encourage your children, if your child is home with you and they have a child, encourage them to go back. I know you might work, but encourage, maybe go to night school or something like that. You know, it's even a challenge when you don't have children, trying to get those skills that you thought that, hey, you could just skate by and get up out of high school and then things are just easier. Or sometimes you might not have graduated from high school. You might not have your GED, but you want to go back. There's tons of classes. There's tons of things going on that you could take free classes. They have adult ed. For those who don't know about adult ed, it's where your town or your city, they have an educational system, but there's parents who may not have graduated, or people who didn't graduate from high school, they didn't complete for whatever the reason is. There's literacy programs in the town I live in. There's a literacy program, and they help people to learn how to read and write. And with this AI now, you know, a lot of people don't know how to read and write. So, you know, I was listening to or watching a video yesterday where in Chicago that they actually banned laptops in the university. You can't bring your laptop to school anymore because it's so bad with the lack of education and us being schooled that they're going to have to turn laptops away. My daughter just told me today in California they started and they're re-entering books back into the school. And then I came across another video a few months ago where there's a parent, a woman and her husband, and they're teaching cursive in a YMCA. Somebody volunteered a class that they can now teach the kids cursive. You have to educate your children. You know, I went to a program last night at the City Hall for the Youth Commission, and they were talking about some of the strategies to help children advance in some areas. My biggest thing is if you don't have the foundation of basics of reading, you're not a strong reader. The disadvantages are so much greater. And then there was a judge there, and she was talking about the new judicial system they're going to be implementing eventually across the United States, where your judicial system, because of the drug academic epidemic, sorry about that, what they're going to do in this new judge circuit they're coming out with is they're going to take and have when you reach 19 and the task force is being formed now. You're going to have to go to a behavioral mental substance abuse court. So they're going to be changing up some things. So I want to encourage you use with children, to encourage your children to finish their education while they're young. Get as much, there's free things at the library, educational things that they can go to for free. There, like I said, there's the adult ed, you know, let them go over there to the adult ed and get their GED or their diploma. There's different programs for different people, different times of day, whether it's the afternoon afternoon or the evening, there is help out there. So for my young teenage parents, unfortunately, don't give up. Encourage them to go forth and further their education, because they're going to have to raise these children now in a deficit, unfortunately. But then the positive side is they're going back to school to be encouraged to take and live a better life and raise those children educated. Not only are you they're gonna have to be educated, their children now are gonna have to be educated. So don't give up on these youth growing up today. Yes, they're feisty. Yes, they want to go off. They think they're grown because they grew up in an environment where the adults just, I want my children to have this and that. And like I would encourage you to please talk to your children before it happens. I was going through that with my oldest, and I met a woman of God who sat down and she talked to me, and she was like, well, Fern, did you ever stop and listen to what the children's concerns are? Hi, how are you doing? So just be mindful to help yourself and your children who have teenage parents. I had a daughter. She had her first when she was in high school. I had to be there for her. She went to high school. I watched the baby while she went. My daughter watched them. We had somebody in our ministry that God had us under. She watched, and I took her like 2 or 3 times away when I had to go to work and stuff like that. It's called a community. We're not alone. So I want you to know that God has people in your vicinity that can help you. Yes, it's called hope. We have to pray. We have to seek God's face. We have to encourage one another to do more than we've ever done. So where God has me now is He says, and He told me years ago, to teach people what I went through. Teach the youth what I went through as a teenage mom, so that this can be broken. This generational, children having babies out of wedlock. Children, having babies, and then the mom, the grandmom, the aunties, all that they have to do to take and keep that child going. So I want you to be encouraged. Please encourage your nieces, your nephews, your daughters, your sons. It's called abstinence. It's very important, because raising children now is hard. It's harder than it's ever been. Look at the homelessness. In the town I live in, homelessness is up. They were saying yesterday, way up. And it's going to get even worse, because now our kids are being priced out of the economy, our teen parents, even for housing, because they only allow so many people on assistance now. So where do you get long term? How do they pay those bills? Me, I'm a firm believer in self-education. I'm a firm believer in starting your own business. And if you have any type of skill, if it's cooking, you could do meal prep for people. If you can iron clothes. It's not about the position. It's about the means to get the job done. So I'm out here to encourage our parents. Please don't discourage your kids, even though they have children. Yes, we want more for our children, but we have to be that listening ear to let them know whatever is going on, you can make it through. You can make it past this time. And my oldest now, she's 44. My youngest is 38. They're all married. But what the difference was in my life as a teenage mom is when I'm a faith-based person, is when I gave my life to the Lord. And the Lord put people in my path to always encourage me to go forth, trusting God. And God made the way. And over the years, through my faith and God putting people, even to this day, in my path to encourage me to live a better life, to encourage others, to not give up on other people, you can make it. So this is Miss Fern coming on. I'm trying to encourage the youth to start their own businesses. Stop listening to the lies of the enemy, to saying you can't start a business because you need a business plan with $50,000. No, you don't. You got to have a will to do a business. You got to have a will in the meaning you got to want to. You have to become disciplined and consistent. And I've been doing business since I was 8. My older brother He started businesses. He would go into the community. He would find work for us to do. And then he would come back and get myself and my baby brother and even other kids in the neighborhood. We would do all types of tasks to earn money. And we weren't doing all this other crazy stuff that people are saying. But it's about wanting to do better in your life. I don't care if you're in your 50s, your 60s, you have something that this younger generation needs. You have gifts, you have talents. Even if you went off and you were a hellraiser, I was a hellraiser, I'm telling you. But what it didn't benefit me because now I'm back and God's regrowing me to where I needed to be a help to someone else. I've gotten a lot of help in my life. And I want you to know to be a help. To be a help to anyone around you. They're going through up the street from me. There's people homeless. Their furniture in the carts and stuff like that. And it's like, what could have been done to interject so those people didn't become homeless? I don't care, like I said, what you have to do. I collect bottles and cans. I go where I need to go. I do what I need to do because it's not about sitting there waiting on someone to come and give you a handout. First of all, if they put a stipulation on it, I don't want it. I learned from a woman of God years ago, and she would always say, Sister Fern, she said, I would get up from thousands of dollars on the table, and if the Lord say walk, walk. Because you don't need somebody putting a stipulation on something that God has for you to do, and now they want to be and lord yourself over it. If you're going to do, yep, go ahead and buy that house. You can buy a house. Just learn the programs. Google, what can you do to get that estate? I'm believing God within the next year, I'm going to have a commercial business and I'm going to have some land so that I can leave it for my children and my children's children, because in the Bible it says we're called to leave an inheritance to our children. So I want to encourage you to go forth. Do what God has you to do and help somebody today who really needs help. Don't help somebody who's just going to try to pimp you. If in the spirit of sincerity of the knowledge you have, ask God, God, do I help them or do I take and keep going? Because there's somebody out there who needs to know that they can make it. If I'm not reading the comments right away, it's taking me a few minutes to adjust from looking up at the camera to looking down to trying to read it, and I'm trying to work all of these things through. So please don't be discouraged. Please, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, because I will get the answer and I will come back and I will comment on it, or I can do a video on it. So like I said, in the times we're living in, you can make it. You can do it. I've seen it be done. I've seen it, and God has done it for me. So thank you for the advice. God told me almost 10 years ago, I was in a restaurant, and we were eating. I was with the woman of God I was under, and God sent a man of God over from a whole nother town, a whole nother everything. And God told me to teach. So I'm going to teach you what I know in the 63 years that I have been on this earth, that you can make it. I'm evidence. You're looking at evidence. With 3 children, 11 grand, and going strong, serving the Lord, because God wants the best and has the best for his people if we do it his way. All right, I want you all to have a good rest of the day. Please, if you're in the Northeast, you know there was wildfires are in the vicinity. The air is bad. My daughter called me. I didn't even know about it. And she was telling me that the air is so thick and heavy out there. She's like, Mom, stay in the house, stay in the house. So, you know, when your children are getting up there in age, they become somewhat like the parents. So my children are always encouraging me to go forth. So I want to encourage you to go forth. And you have a wonderful day. Talk with you later. Bye-bye.